honestly, I've been kind of lonely. Hi everyone! So, the topic of this video is notes. And the reason why I decided to make this the topic of the video is because notes is a fundamental part of high school life, college life. Let's be real, it probably can be used in middle school depending on what class that you decide to take. And there are actually many different ways to take notes. I don't mean like Cornell notes or blurting, all of those note-taking types. I mean like actual formats of taking notes. There's just many different types of note-taking processes, and sometimes it's hard to choose which one to use because some note-taking formats are great for college and not so great for high school. Some are great for all around, and some are just good for a specific type of class. So I'm here with this video to tell you guys my pros and cons, what note-taking formats are best for what class, what university or level of education, because these are all note-taking formats that I have personally tried. I've spent 2 years learning and using all of these different formats, so I have all of the information for you guys, and I hope this will really help. Even though I am personally not anywhere near college, I have a lot of college friends and family members, and I have used some of the more college level formats. So I am here to tell you what will work best for college based on my older and more knowledgeable friends and family experience, how I feel that note formats work best from my personal experience, and just some like online research. This is the pros and cons list of typed notes, written notes, and online notes. I'm gonna have a lot of fun editing this. I don't know what that intro was. So I'm going to start with the basic written notes. Everyone knows written notes. You start out with written notes. Honestly, you started doing written notes in elementary school. This is the most familiar note-taking process that everyone across the board uses and have used for many, many years. The reason is, it is very, very effective. Taking paper notes, handwritten notes, very, very effective, and it has worked for many, many years. It has stand the test of time. These are the materials that I'm going to be showing you, my notes. I'm probably going to intercut with some writing of the actual notes. I'm just going to be talking about the pros and cons and what I have learned about taking these notes for almost my entire life. Most teachers that I have found in my experience prefer you to take paper notes, and there is many reasons for this. But on that train of thought, I'm going to start with the pros of paper notes. For one, it is the cheapest form of note-taking because paper and pencils and pens are pretty inexpensive across the board versus like a computer or a tablet. So it is the cheapest option that is out there. A very big pro of writing paper notes is that you can use it in almost every single classroom setting. You can possibly use it in a test if it's open note or just any situation like that. There is no need for a Wi-Fi connection or battery life, so that's not a worry. You can use it in any setting as long as you just have light, I would say, is the only caveat. You just need light. And for that, you can probably just stand outside. Another pro of paper notes is that everything is written exactly as you want it to. This is especially important in things like math because you have all of these different graphs or equations, you have different variables that go different places, and when you're writing online, they're all pre-programmed. Sometimes you find a way to make it work, but sometimes you just have to deal with what you have. With paper notes, you can write however you want, you can draw however you want, you can place it wherever you want, however is best for you. Another pro of paper notes is the classic feel of paper notes. We have been writing on paper our entire lives, even though everything is starting to switch over to Chromebooks and computers and tablets. Most people prefer the traditional writing on paper. A lot of people prefer it over typing on a computer. It can just feel better and easier to write and just a lot smoother. Paper notes oftentimes can be written the fastest. I don't know about you, but I tend to scribble out notes really, really quickly. Much faster than if I tried to write on a tablet or tried to type on a computer. Oftentimes people are just more comfortable with writing. Most of the people that I know, they write much faster than they can type. And that can be really, really good in fast-paced classes. Another plus of paper notes is that you can make your notes look really, really pretty. You can use like little pens or markers or highlighters and just make your notes look really, really nice. I know we all want aesthetic notes. Paper notes especially are the way to go if you want really, really aesthetic notes. Another plus of paper notes is that sometimes they're already filled out for you. There are many teachers that like to make note packets, putting in the most important details of the entire class, and they'll give it to you, and it's pretty hard to start to transfer all of that online and then write online. So it is faster. Another really great plus about paper and pencil and paper notes is that it's purely a studying educational thing. With computers or tablets, you have other things. You can watch YouTube, you can call someone, you can text, you can play games. There is those other notifications. With paper, there's quite literally no other use for it unless you want to make a paper airplane. And that's just going to take about 5 seconds and you have to get back to your notes. So it is great for focus because there are literally no other distractions on the page other than what you have written down. Those are what I found to be the biggest pros of paper notes. I personally love using paper notes. I think they're so fast. You can make them look however you want. You can write down all your different equations. There are some cons to paper notes. That is the main reason that I started branching out into online notes and trying all these different things. The biggest one was that I used a lot of paper. Paper notes are useful, but I consider them to be a little bit more on the wasteful side because you can only fill up so much on one sheet of paper, and then you need another one, and then another one, and pretty soon you fill up an entire notebook's worth of notes, especially when you want your notes to look really nice and you decorate with lots of boxes and decorations, which that is nice, but when you start doing that, you notice just how much paper, how much pencil, how much space you end up using. The prices can stack up the more and more that you want to decorate and make it look nice. If you don't care for anything more than just scribbles of your equations, it's very inexpensive. You just need one notebook and it should last you the entire year. Another con of online notes is that that is the only copy that you have. Once you write those notes, that's it. You don't have the same backup system or protection or waterproof systems. If you spill water or juice or anything over your notes, they're done for. And that can be very nerve-wracking. Sometimes if you want to add more information because you missed something or you made a passage incorrect, it can be quite difficult to add in that information unless you add a lot of specific room, which in turn wastes more space because you're leaving more space out. The next con for paper notes is pretty much dependent on the person. There is no specific spell check and there is no specific handwriting. I would say the last con of paper notes kind of ties in more with something more math related or graph related, anything in that realm. I would say the statistical side. It's very difficult to be perfectly and precise on graphs. All of that being said, paper notes I do believe is the most superior form of note taking for the masses. I would recommend paper notes for high school students, specifically high school students. If you're in high school or you're going into high school or you're taking a high school level class in, say, middle school, take paper notes. It's going to help you retain information. It's going to be less expensive, and it's just a very traditional, you can use it in any setting. Paper and pen notes are great to start out with. Start it out in high school. It's all you really need and it will work perfectly, and you can get a 4.0 GPA with your usual paper notes. I just recommend the basic paper note. Online notes. So this is basically the written on a tablet or written on a touchscreen computer. Some pros of written online notes on, for say, a tablet or iPad is the unlimited paper, the unlimited space. And this is what really drew me into doing these online notes. If you want to move an entire paragraph, you can do it, and you still have lots of room to add more notes. Next pro is that it's very portable. Everything is all in one place. You can just pick up this tablet and you have every single note that you need, which is super, super nice, especially in college when you have so many places, things, and classes and buildings to go to. The second biggest plus of online notes is the fact that you have a backup system. If you somehow break your tablet, you still have your notes. It's very easy to fix mistakes or move things, as I said, because you have such unlimited space. You have spell check, you can search up things on your tablet or computer. It is very nice in that sense. Another huge plus is the organization. You can oftentimes just go searching for a word, and all of the new online note-taking platforms will automatically search through your notes and find those words for you. Another huge plus is that you can add in perfect graphics or photos. If you have an example that your teacher wrote onto the board, you can take a picture of that and input it into your system. Another huge thing is that certain note-taking platforms will allow you to record your lectures, which is such a plus in something like college, where you have so much to write down, so much information to learn, that being able to re-listen to your professor, especially while you're seeing your notes being written, you can really understand why you wrote those notes and what your professor was saying. Online notes are super easy to share and edit and actually receive from other students. So if you have a study group for that class, you can all share your online notes, and then suddenly you can pull up your notes versus someone else's and input everything that you don't have from their note. The biggest con about online notes is the price. Online notes are very expensive. They can save you money down the line if you buy your freshman year, but online notes are pricey. The reason is that you specifically need a touchscreen tablet or computer plus a pen. I believe it's somewhere around $700, $800, and this is just Windows. Following the tablet, which is nearly $1,000, typically at least, you also have to buy the pen that allows you to actually write. So it is very expensive in that sense of you have such an investment to put in upfront. So along with the whole you need this specific pen, you are writing on glass. Writing on glass is very different from the feel of writing on paper. It's not very normal. Most people think it's very strange. So that can be a hindrance of your speed. Tablets have a battery life. You need Wi-Fi. There are a bunch of things that you need to know ahead of time before you start writing these online notes, because you need your Wi-Fi connection to keep it saved, and you need the battery life to turn on your tablet. This is a little bit more geared towards people that are looking into written online notes in high school. This is very awkward to carry around. There are many unwritten rules about high school that obviously no one really tells you until you're really getting close, but one of the biggest unwritten rules of high school is don't be pretentious. I mean, actually, an unwritten rule of life is don't be pretentious. But carrying around this tablet and pen and writing your notes in the middle of like psychology class, very pretentious. High school, and especially middle school, please don't do this in middle school. Please don't write online notes in middle school. That is way above the pretentious levels. Another con of online notes is that you don't get the choice of using them in tests because they are electronic. You have to put it up front. So if you have an open note test, it's not open note anymore. Again, with the getting used to writing on glass, it can be very time consuming to write on, which again, especially in a fast-paced class, you don't necessarily have the time for that. And most importantly, when you're trying to write on that glass and trying to get used to it and going at a fast speed, sometimes your pen won't sense it, and then that sentence or that word won't be written down, and suddenly there's a blank in your notes that when you're trying to study, you have no idea what you're trying to study because there's a blank, there's a missing piece. With all that being said, with my experience of writing online notes, I would recommend online notes only for college, university levels, and up. So if you're looking into getting an undergrad or a graduate degree or a PhD, I highly recommend online notes. And it is an investment. You can invest into it freshman year of college and use it for many, many years. I really don't recommend online notes for high school. Not only with the added caveat of it is very pretentious and people are going to stare at you, it's just highly unnecessary. The final note-taking format is one that high schools have been starting to incorporate into our general curriculum, and that is online typed notes. Typed notes, very similar to just online written note, where you have unlimited space and spell check and backups and like all of that stuff. So that is all there. Plus it has some really, really great additions, which is because you're not writing it yourself, you have an online font, you will always be able to read your notes. Everyone else will always be able to read your note. It can be 2 a.m. and you can still read your notes because it's in a perfect font. It's really easy to copy and paste different things from your reading. If it's an online reading, you can just copy and paste into your notes document as a quote if it is a very, very, very important section to know about. That can be really nice and save you a lot of time. If you are a sufficient typer, you can type so fast, so much faster than you write. Online typed notes just have the best organization. There are many different platforms that help you with organization that's made just for typing, and because of that, the organization on typed online notes is just superior to online written notes and just paper written notes. Unfortunately, there are some cons to typed notes. Number one, you need a specific keyboard. So you need a computer or you need an iPad with a keyboard. The next con, you need Wi-Fi, and battery life can be very irritating if you are just not around an outlet and you just have a whole day of notes to take. Another huge thing with typing is that you have a low retention rate when you type. The reason why writing has always been a huge way to study and take notes is because when you literally hand write, you're processing all of those words, that sentence, that phrase into your brain, so you have a much higher retention rate. When you're typing, you're only pressing a button. So the retention rate from typing is rather low. You can't use online notes in a lecture or a pop-up quiz, just like with the written online notes. Another miss with typed notes is that there's no creativity. It's pretty hard to make really beautiful notes because you have to write that and place that. And if you try to place it, it can just take more time than necessary, or there's just no way to place the exact things that you want. So I would not say that online typed notes are my number one recommendation for pretty much any level of education. If you have not super great handwriting, but you type super fast, I would say it is nice in college. And the only situation I would highly recommend online notes is if you're in high school and you take something called AP class or any of those college level courses that you later take that college exam for later into the spring. The reason why is because in high school you typically go by semester. Once one semester's done, you throw it all out and you go to the next semester. AP classes are not like that. If you've ever taken one, you know it's not anything like that. So it is really good to write out your notes by paper and then later transfer those notes into online. And that's how I run it. That's how I do my online notes. I write and then I type later. And that kind of gets me to also reread, reprocess, re-understand what I have written down previously. Woo! That is it. That is all my information for you guys. I have been recording for a very long time, but I really hope that this information will help you decide what to use as a note-taking formula. I would love to make another video about note-taking styles. I think that's also really important, but just in general, note-taking is very important in high school, in college, even in middle school, depending on what class you take. So I really hope this video helped you figure out, learn all your different information and all that stuff. So I am vastly tired from talking for nearly 45 minutes. So I'm just gonna leave it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye!